it was when it wasn't called MLG Anaheim anymore.
CWL.
CWL.
Okay.
In like 2017, I think. 2017 or 2018?
Okay. Probably 2018.
Yeah.
Probably.
And
yeah.
the reason I wanted to go was because at that point, I had finally been working in esports, like officially for like a year. My first esports job was at a company you might be familiar with called Smash GG or Start GG now. So that was my first real like esports job. And because I kind of like finally settled into like working in the industry that I wanted to work in a long time, I was like, let's go back to MLG Anaheim, because that was like where it started for me. Like MLG Anaheim 2013. Before Smash was there, I think it was Call of Duty, StarCraft, and League that year. And
probably.
I went to Anaheim that summer because I was in a club in high school called Future Business Leaders of America. And the national event for FBLA was in Anaheim in the same convention center as MLG. Very conveniently the same weekend, just in a different convention hall.
And you're coming from where? Seattle?
And I'm basically coming down from like Washington. I lived in like a small town on the border of Washington and Canada.
Okay.
So we raised money in our town. Like we went like door to door raising money so that our team at FBLA could go to Anaheim.
Right.
And then in my head, I'm like, I'm going to MLG as soon as I get down there. I bought my ticket. And instead of going to like any of the business things you were supposed to go to that week, I just spent the whole week in MLG.
That's insane.
And I was so psyched because I had never been to an event like this. Like there's like 20,000 people probably in that building. And I think the League crowd, I was familiar with like competitive Call of Duty. And I knew that competitive League like existed, and I was playing League at the time. And I think what really sold me, because I was like watching, I want to go watch Call of Duty. I'm watching like Optic play, who I was a fan of at the time. Like watching like the vlogs and like the videos that each of like the members of the team were in. I think it was Big Timer, Merc, Nade, and Scump on the team at the time. So I was like a huge...
It's my favorite team ever, by the way. That's my favorite team.
And it's Black Ops 2, and it's like so exciting. Like everything about the scene was like so interesting to me. And then I think the League crowd was probably like the biggest and the loudest at that event, because I think it was like right when League was like really starting to hit its stride in terms of like popularity. And I remember being in the crowd at that event watching League and being like, the energy is unreal in here. Like this is a real thing, and I could like organize events. I could like be a part of this somehow.
How old are you?
I'm 16. And
crazy.
This is like what I could do for work, because up until then, it was like I'm going to medical school. Like that is like that's the goal. I'm going to be a doctor one day.
Okay.
And then I went to MLG Anaheim, and I was like, actually, esports.
Actually, League of Legends is better than Doctor.
Yeah, it's better than Doctor. And then I told I was telling, after I got back from this trip, I wanted to like a few months later, I wanted to like officially tell my parents that I want to like pivot my career path, because for a longer winded reason, I was starting college at the time, and I was like I made a little like PowerPoint presentation for my dad to like convince him that this path was like legitimate, basically. And like which was boiled down to League better than Doctor.
League better than Doctor. That was the name of the PowerPoint.
Yeah, that's the name. That was the like the file name of the PPT. You know,
it's like before Google Slides. It's like actually you load up PowerPoint.
Yeah, I had to get the USB out and everything.
It's so funny.
And so talking, that was kind of what set esports in motion for me. Is like I knew competitive gaming existed, but wanting to work in esports was because of MLG Anaheim. Before Smash, like before I was playing like anything particularly competitively myself.
Right.
I played competitive Mario Kart Wii at the time.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. So
we have to talk about that.
That was the only game I was like playing seriously up until this point.
Yeah.
Which obviously does not have an esports scene. Like that's a more insulated, small.
Right. How big? Sidebar. Don't lose your track.
Yeah.
How big is that scene?
Like now?
Yeah.
Like probably like active players. There's probably like maybe like 1,000 active players.
That's still something.
Yeah,
That's still something.
It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
you can matchmake and like play solo queue at like any time of day
Oh,
if you want
wow.
to. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's very impressive.
And it's a very, very cool game. It's the Melee of Mario Kart.
That's
if you will.
I keep hearing that.
Yeah.
When I say I keep hearing it, I mean I've heard you say it like 15 times. No one else has said it, but you've said it.
I have the evidence. If you put me on trial, I can back this up.
Okay.
But that event really put it in motion for me. And then going the following year, because Melee made a return to MLG in 2014.
Yes.
And I had gotten into Melee by that point. So MLG was just this like really foundational event and experience for me that made me want to get into it all. And coming back that year, I was like, it was only Call of Duty at that point, right?
Right.
It's a Call of Duty focused event. I wasn't even really that into Call of Duty anymore, but I was like, I would like to go by myself to this event because I think it would be a nice thing to like return to and just be at.
Okay.
And I went that weekend, and I knew who you were because you had like moved into the house. You had made videos or like worked with Optic for a while. And at this point, because I wasn't following as closely, like I didn't know a lot of the specifics about you, but I knew that you were into Melee because you had tweeted during Genesis about how sick Melee was.
That's so funny. Yeah. It sounds like me.
Up. Yeah.
Something about Mango probably.
Yeah, it was. It was like after Mango Leffen, I think, at one of the Genesises.
Okay.
And then I went up to you and I just introduced myself, like, I think pretty like brazenly.
Right.
I think, and I basically just tried to explain like, hey, like I'm just here. I'm really into Melee too. Like I just wanted to say hi. And like, that was kind of the end of the interaction. You were like polite, cordial. Like we met, shook hands, and then the interaction ended. That's all it was.
Okay.
But that was the first time we met. Was
so funny
at that Call of Duty event. And this is funny because I pulled this up. I wanted to go digging for this photo, and it took me a while to find because it was buried in an old Twitter archive. I have a tweet from January of 2018 from me that says at Optic Hitch. Hey man, experienced Melee TO here. Was wondering if you guys have someone staffed to run the tournament in June. Would love to help out. I was the head TO of Don't Park in the Grass, if you're familiar. just ghosted.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
What event are you even talking about here?
This was the first Optic event you guys did. Not the off-season.
Arena.
Optic Arena.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes infinitely more sense.
So I don't know what the politics was at the time.
It was not good politics.
Yeah.
So that makes sense why I didn't reply. I'm sorry.
No, that's totally fine. I just thought that was funny because I found that tweet.
That's so funny.
In the process of looking for this photo, and I can send it to you after.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a photo of me at MLG Anaheim 2013. I'm 16 years old in my business suit, and that's all the Optic guys.
Oh my God. It's so on from left to right. It's Big Timer, Diesel, Hector, you.
Yeah, that's me in the middle.
And then Matt, Seth, and Joe.
Yeah,
that is crazy. That's 2013.
That's 2013. I'm 16 in that photo. And something funny that happened that weekend was at the event, because I'm 16. I'm a future business leader. I have unbounding confidence.
Right. Yeah.
And I just went. I was staying in the same hotel as like all of the, a lot of the players and teams and stuff like that. Right. Hector and Diesel are at the bar one night, I think with like Fwiz, and they're in like the lobby bar. And I went up to Hector, and that's, the same evening I ended up getting that photo to introduce myself. And I said like, hey man, like I'm really, it's really nice to meet you. Like big fan.
Yeah.
I'd really love to like work in esports one day. I'd love to do like anything I can for you guys. Like I'd love to be like an intern or something in the summer. And then Hector like very, responded like very positively to this at the time. And like, was very polite, asked me a bunch of questions, introduced me to everybody at the bar, and like that's how I got the photo. And
that's
then
crazy.
And then gave me his email. And then later in the weekend when he saw me again, he introduced me to the people he was with, and he's like, "This is Aiden. He might come work for us this summer." And I remember this. I remember this very clearly because I'm 16, right? And like I've basically like, oh, dude, I want to work in esports because I'm at this event, and then it's like I'm making connections and and like
you're doing it.
I'm doing it already.
You're already halfway there, and you're 16.
Yeah, and I'm psyched. And it's Hex and it's Nate Shot and like all these people I know, and then to his credit, especially as someone who has been in basically Hector's shoes
on the other
for a
side
few
of it.
years now.
Right.
It was like a lot of people reaching out to me for like opportunities or like more recently in the past year, it's probably been more like fan orientated. But even before that, like as somebody who was running tournaments and like found success in esports, like a lot of people reaching out to me about like jobs and things like that, right? And so to see like how challenging it is to like cordially interact with people like that, and like not because it's not that they don't necessarily deserve an opportunity, right? It's just you're inundated with so many people who want that opportunity, right? And he took the time to like be so kind to me that weekend and treat me like with respect and give me an honest reply, give me his email. And he even responded to my email like after the weekend was over, which I was surprised by. And I asked him to write.
He responded to your email?
Yeah, I was like, hey, I'm applying for like an internship at Riot. Could you write me like a recommendation or something? And he followed up to that.
Wow.
He didn't end up writing the letter of recommendation, but he followed up to the email and said like, yeah, like what exactly do you need from me? And I think as a dumb 16-year-old at the time, or a dumb 17-year-old by then maybe, it was like I didn't have enough like direction in my request for him to actually do anything. That's what I've realized as like years have passed.
Right.
But one of the reasons why I wanted to go back too, which was nice, is at the event in 2018 that I met you at, I bumped into Hector again, and he, of course, does not recognize me.
Right.
Totally understand. But I was like, hey, I want you to know that, like, talking to you that weekend gave me a lot of, like, confidence to pursue working on this and, like, joining the industry. And at that point, I had. And he was like, oh, he was like, I bet you went and did it. And I was like, yeah, like, I did. And, like, here I am. And I just want to say thank you very much. So it was nice to, like, briefly reconnect with him in that way. And that's kind of my whole like MLG little journey with everybody, and a little my Call of Duty connection.